Greetings, people. Thanks so much for being here. And welcome. We're so glad to be here with you and have this opportunity to be circled up here and being together, for being here and for letting us be with you. And thanks for bringing your full, authentic selves to this endeavor.
As always.
Yeah.
Dear EQ, I'm dating and finding that I'm having, oh, you know what? This is not the original question. Oh, stall for time.
Natalie's going to take a second to, but now she's back. So,
all right, I'm dating and finding that I'm having a lot of great conversations with a lot of different people, but I'm sort of growing through this in a way that uses old thinking. I wait until my dates say or do something I don't like, and that tells me where to look for the cracks as I develop my list of things that aren't going to work for me. No wonder it stops being fun after 2 or 3 dates. Would you help me to design a new and better way to go about all of this? I'd like to learn to be more constructive from the start and to really know what I'm looking for instead of just waiting for that point at which a person starts to get on my nerves. What does neuroemotionally informed dating look like? And is it different for adults than it is for young people just starting to explore intimate partnership? What a great question.
and stay focused on what these parts are answering down here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So one of the things that we explored in our written response was to be on the lookout for brain states. We're just going to go over that real quickly for anyone who didn't get to read that part. Dating is stressful. Meeting new people can be stressful.
Especially depending on your history.
Being in a new location can even be enough. And so there's a high likelihood that some survival reactivity can enter into a date, whether or not we want it to.
Yeah, I mean, even like just because dating for many of us is not something that we've done a ton of. So
yeah. Well,
even like
it's vulnerable.
The first 30 times is going to bring up nervous system activation at least.
Yeah. And then from, just insert a little bit of adrenaline and cortisol into the bloodstream, and then we can see even like the way someone chews as a threat.
It's too loud. Yeah, it changes our hearing. So then, yeah, anything they may say or do can be more irritating. Or if they, they're too touchy, that can be, if our skin is sensitive.
Yeah, basically a hypercritical eye comes in because that survival system is supposed to be on hyper alert.
Well, it's looking for a predator, predation, or things that'll be wrong instead of looking for openings for connection and all the rest.
Yeah, and that system errs on the side of caution. Okay. Just in case, better get away from them. It's not like, well, no, let's just see. Like, that's not what the survival system says. That's how we're all alive now after all of those ancestors before us. It's because the survival system just erred on the side of caution and didn't die.
So then anything that we're sort of having irritation, or like if we're in survival, the things that are seeming scarier to our nervous system or off-putting to our nervous system begin to confirm that this person's not right for us, or a threat to us, or could potentially be a threat to us, or not right for us, or et cetera, et cetera. So we start to, or it's like our survival system begins to label them as not okay.
Yeah. And let's remember that system does black or white thinking. So we're across the table from someone, and you're like, shit, this is my next husband, or or I need to leave the table right now. It's black or white, it's one or the other, and so if I say yes to dessert, or if I kiss them, or if I say yes to a second date, I'm locked in. This is my forever person. Like this system is so basic that there's no room for nuance. There's no room for, yeah, well, I'll go on a few more dates, and in May, if I'm still annoyed by these things, then I might make a different choice. that kind of thinking isn't available to that system.
And you predict negative outcomes. You're more likely to predict negative outcomes.
Yeah.
They'll do something that's going to upset you, or that they meant something that their intention was off.
Yeah, if he chews like that, then
Yeah,
look out.
I like the chewing example. Okay.
Yeah, so gosh, whether or not we like the person, it's a good idea to bring in regulation during dating or during any any moment where we're putting ourselves in an intimate and vulnerable position, trying something new.
Yeah, that's a great bottom line.
I mean, I find even just like going to an office building I haven't gone to before. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go for a regulating breath at this point in time, just so I can find the office easily or have a good time while I'm checking this out. And that's just an office building. That's not a date.
So then, as you're trying to get to know someone new, if your survival system has decided, oh, this person is probably out, then even if you go home later and you do survival support strategies and you process the feelings that came up for you, and you're like, you know what, such a bad, your executive brain is likely to instead um, rationalize what your survival brain made up. You're unlikely to get to a place where you can executively convince your survival system, no, 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 this person is okay for me, if it has gotten that wrong idea it's gotten locked in, thank you, in the initial meetings.
So then later you hear other people talk this way, like I could just tell, or shit, my stomach hurt the whole time. And so obviously he's the wrong one. Like that's a executive analysis of a body sensation that may or may not have anything to do with compatibility.
Mm-hmm. And then on top of that, this is sort of going a little off where the introduction we're doing here, recapping what we covered, but we now have media that underscore that the experiences we should have around people that are right for us are survival reactions. Our heart should be bouncing out of our chest. We shouldn't be able to think clearly. We should have trouble eating. Our stomach should be flipping, butterflies and all that, instead of, you should feel really calm and at ease and open and available to engage with this person. So we have this sort of mythos that it's supposed to feel twitterpating or upsetting or scary. And so there can be this like push pull. If you're not put off by that, then you might be attracted by that experience or think you should be attracted by that experience.
And then I can see the argument being made that, well, this person should help me feel safer and calmer and more secure. That's ideal in a partner. But we just have to remember how neurochemistry works. If we come in dysregulated and then we dysregulate them, and then we go, well, they didn't help me feel better, they must be bad. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah. I always think of, I think it's an emotional sovereignty school where it's talking about the person, I'm in survival brain, I'm coming in hot.
Yeah.
And like that coherence, just it shows up before, like that energy shows up even before we do. And then is absolutely affecting the interaction we're having with
and then
the
you're in a
person.
feedback loop.
That's right. And then they're not being their best self either, likely. They cohere to you. Okay.
Makes the case for regulation on a date.
Was there anything
before,
else?
during, and after. Anything else brilliant that we said?
Yeah, before, during, and after. I think that is a great way to put it, because even if so regulating before helps make sure that you're or like reassuring your nervous system that you're secure, you're safe as you enter this space is highly useful, so that you get to show up as you want to show up, and to reassure your nervous system that you don't need to be in survival mode for this. Doing more of that survival support throughout means that you're continuing to be available, be open, and perceive what you're experiencing in a way that is truest for you. But then when you get home too, reassuring your nervous system, hey, that was actually safe for me, is a great way to stay on the side of holding the perceptions that were truest for you, clearest for you, rather than going into survival like, oh, and then in that case, you'd probably be likely to second guess your own stuff, or second guess things that they said in retrospect, things like that.
If you're not regulating afterward.
Yeah.
Then regulation would help us understand that we don't have to decide anything. It's not a thumbs up or thumbs down. It was a first date. We don't know. We don't know yet. So we're not committing to anything, and we're not deciding anything either.
Doesn't have to be either or.
That's what regulation would help with after the fact.
Yeah.
Is either one? A manic survival brain would say, You're like, no, or maybe. So regulation would help afterwards. Okay, so one of the other questions.
So that's one
we've
level.
already said.
Yeah. And I do think that's useful even if you do nothing else, right? Just making sure that your nervous system is getting to navigate through and come out of any situation that's activating for us in a way like that we are reassuring our nervous system through it, right? That's always going to be useful.
I want to talk about this line. Would you help me to design a new and better way to go about all this? I'd like to learn to be more constructive from the start.
Yeah.
And to really know what I'm looking for instead of just waiting for that point at which a person starts to get on my nerves. I love this because a lot of reasons. But it kind of gets into the zone of like manifestation, like I want to be clear about what I want so that I attract the right thing for me. And I really love talking about manifestation through the lens of neuroscience, through the lens of neurochemistry. And in my opinion, the most effective way to do it is to use your tools, regulate so that you're feeling secure and you're not in your survival system. Work with your emotions so that when you sit down with your piece of paper and your pen, you love your pen, you love the piece of paper, you love your spot, and you just dream up, magic wand, what you're looking for in a partner. Just free flowing, lay it out there. And then
okay, go ahead.
You just set it aside and almost forget it. Just like it's set. I know what it is. There it is. It's locked in. And then you stop worrying about it, or when worry comes up, you process worry. And you routinely just work with your emotions that come up around dating, that come up around people, so that as much of your dating activity, whether it's in your own head or actively out there, is done from a more executive place. And then you will just naturally be living into that vision that you already locked into place on your piece of paper, versus heading out into the world with your list and going, are you it? Are you it? Are you it? Are you it? Which is a totally different, no, I don't think you are. Oh no, you're not this one. Where we actually don't know that yet, or it's a totally different reactive way of dating versus I have my vision and I'm going to stay executive as possible, so then I know that whether or not I'm in alignment or not. And I know a particular person who I helped do this, and they started dating somebody and were just crazy about this person. And then later they found their list at the bottom of the file drawer, and they're like, oh my gosh, this one too. Oh my gosh, this one too. And it wasn't because they were obsessively screening people for that. They were living as the person that is dating that kind of person. You know what I mean?
But let's break it down a little bit more. I think this is so beautiful the way you're approaching this, and I couldn't agree more. So we've talked about the regulating part. I definitely stand by that, but I think I would invite a process that includes what Natalie's talking about, but does some of the let's just say the neuroemotional work in advance of creating this list. You did, but let's break it down. Because I don't want anyone to step over that part and think, oh, I just got to get clear on my list, and then that's the thing. Like,
because most everyone makes a list when they're upset.
To start, but they also make a list without knowing anything, and then they like wonder why they can't be clearer about it, or they wonder why it's not coming more to fruition. But they have to do another list and another list and another list because it's all investigatory. And I would encourage that if you make improvements, make a new list, of course. But slowing down at least our discussion of it and making clear that at least the way that we're imagining this is that you sit with the activation that comes up for you around dating, reassure your nervous system that you are safe to even think about dating. You look at the feelings that come up for you around even thinking about dating. Like, you really take this step by step so that you titrate your even your process toward naming everything that you want, right? So doing and a particular emotional exploration around what it's going to be like for you if you do find the right person. Doing a particular emotional exploration around what it's going to be like for you if it takes longer than you'd like to find the right person. Doing an emotional exploration around what it might be like for you, or what feelings come up for you if they are amazing, but they have this one tragic flaw. Doing an emotional exploration around, if it's amazing and wonderful and everything you could hope for, and they die a year in. What are the layers that come up for you around going further down this road, and what are the feelings that are going to be there, so that you can it's sort of like, I think of it as pre-clearing the poop piles. In emotional sovereignty school and in coach training, we talk about emotional patterns showing up like poop piles that we step in to give us opportunities to have feelings come up. Well, if you go ahead and do that feelings work in advance, then I think of it as clearing away obstacles that your nervous system and or your collaboration with the universe or your higher power, however you view it, would otherwise put in your way, so that you could do the emotional work on the way to actually connecting with what's right for you. Go ahead and do that emotional work so that you can be more supercharged and have a smoother path toward what you want. Then,
and the list, I think it might be more powerful to write it in present tense.
Definitely. I definitely want to get to that part.
Write it in present tense. Write it
like we have, we get to, we enjoy.
Yeah, and you're already speaking to what I'm getting to, which is, who are you going to be with this person? Versus they are this, they are that, they are this. Instead, it's, I laugh so much with them, or I get to just be authentically me and they adore it, or we get to travel a whole bunch, versus just a list that is just about them. It's just something you have less power over, but you can be embodying your list on every date. And then, you're either a match or you're not, but you're being your part of the equation really clearly.
And that's another part to this worth underscoring. So specificity on paper or in some device where you have done the physical work of manifesting it in a form that you can revisit, and that is in the universe, apart from you, separate from your body. And again, that involves your body, because that is another action that you're taking to create the thing that you want to see. And then very much present tense, very much focused around your experience. I was even thinking, I can easily share my feelings and get met with empathy is a great one to have on all of our lists, right? And then when you, as Natalie's saying, when you show up to do your part of what you've written down that you're calling forth, then that's another level of signaling. All of this is levels of signaling to the universe, or our higher self, our creator, however you relate to the part of you and or part of what you're part of that's bigger than you, that supports you in creating all that you create. When you show up in action to it, you're showing that you're collaborating. It's another sign that I'm here doing my part for what I'd like to see. Then you're also much more likely to notice it when you see it, because you've written it down. You have a sense of what it looks like. I mean, it's like if you are looking for a blue hat, you're going to see a lot more blue hats in the world, right? You've put it down as something that you're looking for. I think it's also useful, although we got excited and we jumped over this step on the way here, on the way through, like doing the emotional work and into making this list, being clear on the needs you have for a relationship. What are like your, like, these needs get met in a relationship for me, or I don't do the relationship. And these are all ways too of leveraging how you'll interact and what you'll see as you show up, and how you'll know when it's there, with more signs than just what your survival system might tell you in the moment.
Okay, and now this one is just a metaphor, but stinky armpit.
Well, it's also literal.
I know, but it also stands in. And what we mean by that, and I think this crowd has heard this before, but we actually want to make sure that our true scent, both literally and metaphorically, is coming through.
Energetically.
Like our actual physical scent, so that we know that we're a genetic match. That's how you don't accidentally pair with like a sibling kind of affection, is your nose can tell what is a good DNA match. That your nose is looking for a DNA that is far from yours, different from yours. But then also, like, what that means metaphorically is, if you don't wear makeup, don't wear makeup on the date. If you don't like dressing the dress code for fancy dinners, then suggest a different kind of experience, different kind of date. Like, be as stinky as you are from the start, as you avoid mismatches.
Yeah, no false advertising.
Which is another reason to regulate during a date, because if I don't regulate during a date, I'm going to do false advertising, which is otherwise known as appease, where I'm like, I know the exact whatever that's going to be most pleasing to you right now, so I'll twist my story a little bit to come your way, or make, translate this thing into your language so that you like me more, versus talking how I actually talk.
The cool thing too about this approach, stinky armpits and all, and I mean, I'm talking literally, but also figuratively, is that you're more likely to be, there's a DNA thing that's happened, that your system is looking for a right DNA match, but then you are more likely to be a chemical match for each other.
That's what I was getting at.
And when you have chemistry with the person that you're with, there's a whole lot of shit you can endure that comes up in a relationship that is just something you wind up getting through because you have that chemistry between you. It's like, shit, I don't know where we're going with this. I don't understand how we're going to get through it, but this is my person. And I can't be even more sure of that. Right. And you can't fake that. And if you do any amount of trying to be a certain way, trying to smell a certain way, trying to look a certain way, trying to act a certain way in the initial interactions, you could interrupt that really basic neurochemical matching that you really want to be there, that is so useful to have there as a foundation. Thank you all so much for these questions and this discussion, and how you've engaged here. Really appreciate it. It's fascinating for us to get into and to explore with you. Love the opportunity.
Really fun.